السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله وأصحابه الغر الميامين وعلى كل من اهتدى بهدي واستنى بسنته وقتفى أثره إلى يوم الدين. ثم أما بعد، قال عز من قائل: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. ثم اعلموا يا رعاكم الله أن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. أعاذني الله وإياكم. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we thank the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His infinite mercy and blessings upon us, and we convey abundant peace and salutations upon our noble Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the greatest favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon us as Muslims is when He allows us to witness one special occasion, or one special occasion, one after another. It was not a long time where we observed and witnessed the auspicious night and the days of Ramadan. And here we are 2 months later, we are now in the days of the Hijra. And particularly this day of Arafah is one of the greatest favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to this ummah, only to those who understand the value of this day. Imagine these occasions, these holy occasions, and these sacred occasions are the occasions that frees you and I from hellfire. It is very sad that people do not understand the connotation of getting freedom from hellfire. Just by the way of example, someone is going through a court trial and he has committed major offense. He understands and is convinced that either life imprisonment will be imposed on that individual, and if he's in a country where death penalty is something that is practiced, he's going to go through death penalty. And all of a sudden, The judges are going through the trials, and then they're looking at the paperwork, and they're looking at the witnesses and all this evidence against this individual, against the perpetrator. And the victim stands up and says that I have pardoned this person. Or the victim's family stands up and says that we have pardoned him. And all of a sudden the judges now withdraw. They reverse the judgment. And they say to that individual that you were supposed to be isolated from your social interactions. Your dad and mom, that you have enjoyed interacting with them. From today, if we had to impose life imprisonment, there were no any chances that you are going to have any interactions with them. You are married, no more time to have, social life with your wife. And the places that you have loved to visit, no longer. But because of this forgiveness, we are now withdrawing the judgment. You were meant to go through death penalty, but because of this forgiveness, we have pardoned you. And the person freely walks out of the courtroom with, full of joy and full of happiness. There are some people that will stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with years of criminality, years of disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, years of perpetrating against the orders and the injunctions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as they are standing in the divinity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the courtroom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're seeing the angels of adhab, and now they are convinced that I am now doomed and going into destruction. And all of a sudden Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at them with an eye of mercy. O my servant, because of your obedience on the day of Arafah, because of your dua on the day of Arafah, because of your fasting on the day of Arafah, I have pardoned you. We have to understand the connotation when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees an individual from hellfire. Our mother Aisha radiallahu anha narrates the hadith in Sahih Muslim. ما من أيام يكثر أن يعتق الله به عبيدا من النار من يوم عرفة. There is no better day that Allah can free individuals from hellfire than the day of Arafah. We are today observing the day of Arafah. How many of us are knocking at the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the door of maghfirah, the door of forgiveness, knowing that we have perpetrated against the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have lied, we have backbitten, we have eaten something that we were not supposed to eat, we have touched what we were not allowed to touch, we have done this and that. How many of us are really knocking at the door of Allah, the door of maghfirah, the door of mercy, and calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us on this day? This is the day that Allah Himself has called Yawm al-Hajj al-Akbar. وَأَذَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ إِلَى النَّاسِ يَوْمَ الْحَجِّ الْأَكْبَرِ. Announcement from Allah and His Rasul to the people on this great day, the greatest day of Hajj. This is the day, my dear brothers, the day of Arafah. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells the Hajj, the pilgrims, that Al-Hajj Arafah, your entire essence of Hajj is restricted to the day of Arafah. You spend your money and you go through all the inconveniences and the hardship, and you find yourself in the territories of the Haram. And then on the 5th day of the Hijra, you announce your intention for Hajj. You do all the rituals, but if you miss Al-Wuquf bi Arafah, your Hajj is not counted. This is the greatest day that we need to celebrate in our life, the day of Arafah. As we mentioned on the last khutbah, I just want to elaborate more and see how can we maximize these opportunities. Ad-du'a, ad-du'a. Today is the day of dua. While you are fasting, you have prayed your fajr in congregation, and before that you stood in Qiyamul Layl, and you have spoken to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and communicated with your Rabb Allah Jalla fi Ulah, and you have sought your forgiveness. And now, after dawn, you are fasting. With that fasting, you need to couple up with dua. This is the day of dua, day of dhikr, a day of remembrance. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as he says, hadithun sahih, khayru dua, khayru dua, dua yawmi Arafah, the best dua is the one that is made on the day of Arafah. I need to free myself on this day. I need to free myself on this day. Social media is not important on this day. My work is not important on this day unless if I cannot take off. Yes, I understand we're going to lose money. But are you prepared to lose couple hundreds of dollars than losing the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Think about it. I need to be fasting on this day. My food, my drinks are not so important on this day unless if I am on medication. And all these talks and, talks of no value, talks that have no values, fairy tales, entertainments, it's not important on this day. Socializing is not important on this day. What is important is the dua. The entire day we should be engaged in dua. And this is what we understand from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That on this day, moisture your tongue with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وخير ما قلت أنا والنبيون قبلي لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. You switch over from dua, then you move towards dhikr. And then once you are making dhikr, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you switch over again to dua. You transfer from dua to dhikr and vice versa. This should be our practice on this day until sunset. While reading, I found something very interesting that I wanted to share. And this is documented by Ibn Qudamah in his works. And he reports from Imam Ahlul Sunnah, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah. Imam Ahmad was asked, what is your opinion regarding people that congregate in masjids on the day of Arafah and they engage in collective dua? You're going to tell me this is bid'ah, isn't so? Ahmad bin Hanbal, he says, La ara biha ba's. I don't see any problem in it. Everyone, his students are shocked. Oh, really? He says, if anyone is doing it, they are not the first ones. Those before them had also congregated in the masjid, in the best masjid and Masjid al-Nabawi. And they would make dua. And it is also recorded in the same works of Ibn Qudamah that the first person to initiate this practice in Al-Basrah was Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas, who doesn't know Ibn Abbas radiallahu, Turjuman al-Quran? He would congregate and he would meet up with people in the masjid on the day of Arafah, and he would engage in collective dua. Even though Ibn Hanbal, Ahmad bin Hanbal himself did not do this practice, he went into isolation. But he said, I do not condemn this practice. We might not impose it on people, but if there is a group of people that are doing this practice, we should never call them out to be mubtadi'eens, people that are innovating in deen. This is the day of dua, my dear brothers. And there's no problem if you're going to be coming before your iftar, before Maghrib. Be in the masjid. If you don't want to go into congregational dua, go just by yourself in one corner of the masjid. If you cannot make it to the masjid, one corner of your house, cry, shed tears, and speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Present your cases before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Present your needs before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows, who knows that could be a moment where the du'as are accepted. But to be specific, Al-Baji rahimahullah, Al-Baji is the commentator of Al-Muwatta. He was from Andalus. He says, under the commentary of Khayru Dua, Dua Yawmi Arafah, the best dua is the dua made on Arafah. He says, what does this mean to him? He says that أكثر الذكر بركة وأعظمه ثوابا وأقربه إجابة. The best dua, the one that is most likely to be accepted, the one that has barakah, and it is closely to be accepted, is the dua that you make on this day. This is what our scholars are saying. This is what our scholars are saying. And you'll find someone that says, no, I've made enough dua in Ramadan. I don't need to bother myself. But wallah, there will come a time in your life, if not now, later in your life, there will come a time where you will be in need of dua, and you would wish at that time, particular time, if you had made prior dua to be saved from that moment. Don't wait for a moment where you're in a die, or in a die need for dua. You are in a predicament where you need dua, and you had missed occasions where du'as were most likely to be accepted. So I urge myself and everyone else that we need to make abundant du'as on this day, the day of Arafah. What do we know about this day? The day of Arafah is the 9th day of the Hijra, and this is the day where the Hajj, the pilgrims, move from the tents of Mina after sunrise, and they advance towards Arafah. When they arrive at Arafah, they wait until Zawal, until the sun has declined from zenith, and then they engage in du'as from Dhuhr up till Maghrib, and they pray Dhuhr and Asr together in Awwalul Waqt. And all they do is du'a. So what you're doing here when you're engaging in du'a, you are following suit, and you are following and also emulating the practices of the Hajj. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam walked out of Medina, and prior that he declared his intention for Hajj 2 months in advance, 2 months prior, and Sahaba started preparing themselves. We want to accompany the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was in the 10th year of Hijra, after the conquest of Mecca, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went and performed his only Hajj in his time. And he was accompanied by 100,000 Sahaba. And when he went on the 9th of the Hijjah, on the very same day like today, close to Maghrib, just before Maghrib prayer, he tells Bilal bin Rabah that Bilal, ansit liyan nas, Bilal, ask people to be silent. I've got something very important I want to deliver. I have something to deliver. And this is my last sermon that I want to impart and I want to convey to the people. And Bilal bin Rabah, radiallahu anhu, he goes and he communicates a message, and there was a drop of silence. And thereafter the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes and addresses the people. The last sermon of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is quite emotional. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not live longer after this, only 3 months. He died sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the month of Rabi'ul Awwal. Very few, only 3 months or less than 3 months, and he is almost giving his parting advices to the ummah, to those around him, and those who will come, and those generations to come. And this message is for each and every person. In the first message after the tahmid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, on the very same day, the day of Arafah, it was on the Jum'ah, it was on Friday. alayhi salam says, Inna dima'akum wa amwalakum haramun alaykum ka hurmati yawmikum hadha fi shahrikum hadha wa fi baladikum hadha. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam declares the sanctity of the blood of a Muslim. Verily, the blood of a Muslim, it is sanctified. Just like how this month, the month of the Hijra, is sanctified. No bloodshed is allowed during the days of Ashhurul Hurum, the days that are sacred in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentions to us that we need to revere someone else's blood. But look at what is happening today across the globe. We turn a blind eye to the advices of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and people are making halal of each other's blood. Killing of human being has become more easier and easier than killing a bird or an animal. This is the era that we're living. People are calling others infidel because they are thirsty to suck other people's blood. The moment they do that, they go and behead those people. Na'udhu billah. Inna dima'akum, verily your blood, wa amwalakum, and your wealth, haramun alaykum. It is a sanctity, and it is forbidden for you people to legitimize. It is just as sanctified than this month of Dhul Hijjah. It is sanctified just like the territories of the Haram. But where are the people to give heed to the advices of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And thereafter the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes on to abolish paganism, the pagan practices. Ala kullu shay'in min amri al-jahiliyyah tahta qadami mawdu'. Everything that is attached to paganism, pagan practices, practices that are not endorsed in Islam, it is buried. The Prophet ﷺ in Arafah is standing and is mounted on his conveyance, and he says that all those practices is buried under my feet. Today people, when we tell them this is against the Sunnah, they do not understand the wisdom behind it. My question to you, will you need John and Mary to intercede on your behalf on the day of judgment? Or you will need your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to intercede on your behalf? Think about it. Pagan practices has become something that is easily acceptable. It is habitually practiced in our days. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes and abolishes all the transaction that were done prior Islam, where riba was involved, usury and interest was involved. But today, Muslims are chasing after that riba. Muslims are chasing after the mortgage, from one mortgage to another mortgage, from 3 to 4. I know some people, they own, mashallah, mashallah. Know that the day of Qiyamah you'll meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and this is scary, my dear brothers. Akilur riba. One that legitimizes riba and interest in his life. فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. Allah says that you are declaring war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've read under the commentary of this verse that a person that goes and just gets abundance of interest and he does not care about it, on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him a whip. And he will tell him that now you declared your war against me in dunya. You are now in front of me. Come and fight me. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam abolishes riba, as if to say that he knew that some people will merge in this time, that they will chase and compete one another on riba. The car that is driving is based on riba, and is not satisfied, he goes and upgrades to another riba, from another home to another home. The Prophet ﷺ closes his eyes 3 months before and tells the ummah, be wary of this riba business. And thereafter, the Prophet ﷺ gives the wasiyah, وَاسْتَوْصُوا فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِي النِّسَاءِ فَإِنَّكُمْ أَخَذْتُمُوهُنَّ بِأَمَانِ اللَّهِ. He gives wasiyah and advices to the husbands. You know, many times when we speak about this topic, some brothers get agitated. They get furious. Oh, he's a feminist. Na'udhu billah. This is the hadith, prophetic hadith. Are we trying to say, na'udhu billah, it does not befit for me to say this? Are we attaching this feminism, na'udhu billah, to our leader, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam? فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِي النِّسَاءِ. Fear Allah with regards to your wives. And each person should think to himself, problems will occur. We are human beings. And to err, it's human. It is human to err. But to be in denial, that's where a problem is. And thereafter, the Prophet ﷺ goes and abolishes racism. لا فضل لعجمي على عربي. There is no superiority over a non-Arab, for a non-Arab over an Arab, and for an Arab over a non-Arab. There is no superiority for blacks over white, no superiority for white over blacks. But today, subhanallah, racism is on another level. We bring people closer to us because of the cultural beliefs that we have, that we are sharing. We bring people closer to us because of the language, because of the color. We tramp on people's rights because of their backgrounds, because of their ethnicity. Here, An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is speaking to us and is parting on these advices. And the same advices was parted by the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam hours before he closed his eyes in Medina. And there will be time to discuss about this. The final moments in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Racism is something that need to be buried. The first person in the history to fight against racism is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We need to love people based on their taqwa. Not based on what they have. Not based on the looks. Wallah, all these looks mean nothing in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The day that you close your eyes, that's when you realize, from the time you are at your deathbed, that's the time that you realize that your complexion means nothing in the sight of Allah. The very same people that chanted your honor and revered and respected you, they'll be the very first ones to run away from you. The moment you close your eyes, all those people that complimented on how good you look, how handsome or how pretty they are the same people to make a U-turn against you. And when you are buried, all that skin will be falling off. يَوْمَ تَبِيَضُّ وُجُوهُ وَتَسْوَدُّ وُجُوهُ. The real complexion and real beauty is the one that will be restored on Judgment Day. And after the Prophet ﷺ concludes his khutbah, his sermon, his final sermon, by encouraging the ummah to hold on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hold on to kitab and sunnah. وَقَدْ تَرَكْتُ فِيكُمْ مَا إِن تَمَسَّكْتُمْ بِهِمَا لَن تَضِلُّوا بَعْدِي. I have left you, I am leaving you, my ummah, with two primary things. As long as you hold on to those primary direction in your life, your primary compass in your life, your GPS in your life, you'll never go astray. No superpower, no one will ever defeat you as long as you hold on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today our values are compromised because we are drifting away from the sunnah, from al-kitab wa sunnah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who maximize their time on this auspicious day, the day of Arafah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our fasting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our udhiyah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our dua. أقول ما تسمعون وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وللتائب من ذنب كمن لا ذنب له. ادعوا الله يستجب لكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله. نشهد أنه بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله به الغمة، وتركنا على محجة بيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. فصلوات ربي وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه، وخص بهم أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي، وعن الصحابة والصحبيات عنا معهم بكرمك وجودك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداءك أعداءنا أعداء الدين. الله ربنا حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا اللهم من الراشدين. اللهم ربنا تقبل لحجاج بيتك الحرام يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم ربنا ردهم إلى بلدانهم سالمين غانمين يا أرحم الراحمين. عباد الله رحمني ورحمكم الله، إن الله يأمركم بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهاكم عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. واذكروا الله العلي العظيم يذكركم، ادعوه يستجب لكم، واستغفروه يغفر لكم، ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. قوموا إلى صلاتكم يرحمكم الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. استووا اعتدلوا استووا رحمكم الله. Inshallah, while we're waiting to commence with our prayers, inshallah, we're going to have iftar together this evening, providing, inshallah, that everyone brings their plate to share, inshallah. If you don't have a plate to share, inshallah, you can still join us as long as you are fasting, inshallah. And also tomorrow, Eid's prayer will be at Banjo Place at 7:45. The takbiras will start at 7:45 and Jama'ah will be at 8 sharp. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of us. استووا اعتدلوا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. فلما أسلما وتله للجبين وناديناه أن يا إبراهيم قد صدقت الرؤيا إنا كذلك نجزي المحسنين إن هذا لهو البلاء المبين وفديناه بذبح عظيم وتركنا عليه في الآخرين سلام على إبراهيم كذلك نجزي المحسنين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وتركنا عليه في الآخرين سلام على إبراهيم كذلك نجزي المحسنين إنه من عبادنا المؤمنين. وبشرناه بإسحاق نبيا من الصالحين وباركنا عليه وعلى إسحاق ومن ذريتهما محسن وظالم لنفسه مبين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. والله أكبر. الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. والله أكبر. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Brothers, inshallah, there's a janazah announcement. One of the brothers that gives adhan here is one of our volunteers. His cousin has passed away, I'm not sure when, but the janazah is today, inshallah, at it says Cleveland Street, 139 to 141 Cleveland Street, Dandenong. Inshallah, if we can make it to reach out there, that would be good, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him and grant him the highest abode of Jannah. تدعو